I'm Brad Hodge, and I want to share with you a couple of tricks about how to improve your productivity while you're at the desk. Now, the caveat on this is, of course, you have to stay at the desk sometimes, okay? Though you are not going to improve your productivity if you're down at the pub, at the beach, or doing something else. You actually have to discipline yourself to sit at the desk in the first place. But once you've got that sorted, once you're actually sitting at the desk, there are ways to improve your productivity. I want you to think, have there been times in your life where you've gotten to the end of an hour and realised that you've achieved absolutely nothing? I have. I've gotten to the end of a day and realised I've achieved absolutely nothing. I've been sitting at the desk, I've been doing stuff that looks like study, but I don't remember anything, I didn't write anything, I've just been working in circles. Alternatively, have you ever gotten to the end of an hour and gone, oh my goodness, I got more done in that hour than I achieved in the whole day previously? That happens. So the thing that we often forget about spending time is we think that time, the amount of time we spend, is the only factor. But the reality is your effectiveness in that time is really incredibly important. You have to spend the time first, but it's incredibly important that the effectiveness is high, because I reckon sometimes I get 4 or 5 times as much done in 1 hour as I do another. And so what I want to share with you today is some principles that have really helped me to improve my effectiveness within the time that I spend. The first one, short bursts of activity. None of us want to look at a whole day and go, you know what, you've got to study the textbook all day, okay? So what you need to do is think in shorter blocks. So what you'll find if you just approach one task that you're going to do all day is that you will start off reasonably well, but then very quickly, because you're not taking breaks and you're doing the same thing, is your productivity drops. And by the time you get, past the kind of 1-2 hour mark, that you're achieving very little. So you want to bolster yourself back up again, and the way to do that is to break it up. And so whenever I'm sitting down to study or to work, I will go, okay, this is what I'm doing for the next 2 hours, go. And there's a level of intensity there. There's an end date, and so that's really, really important. End time, and that's really important. So breaking your tasks up so you can think, okay, this is what I'm doing for the next 2 hours, then I'm going to run around the block or, do whatever, take a short break, even just change task if you're really good at being disciplined. Sometimes just changing topic or changing task type at that 2 hours can bring your attention back up again, so you're starting back at the start. The second thing is to break tasks up. So when you're writing a paper, certainly at my level, at PhD type level, I will spend literally weeks revising the same paper. Now, if I approach that as, okay, for the next 4 weeks, I'm going to revise the same paper, my productivity is going to die. Okay, because I'm thinking, 4 weeks, this is an awful job. But if I break it up and I think, okay, I'm going to read through the first 4 sections of that in those 2 hours. So I'm thinking of what the tasks are and break it up. The other advantage of that is that you can write a list at the start of the day. Lists are beautiful. I love lists. The reason being, I get to cross things off, and that makes me feel like I've achieved something. Okay, it keeps me accountable. So if I'm looking at editing something or even studying for exam, I'll go, okay, I'm going to learn the content of this first chapter. I'm going to revise that. What does that mean? I'm going to take notes, or I'm going to draw a mind map or whatever. And then at the end of that 2 hours, I'm going to be able to cross that thing off. Okay, so breaking it up into tasks is really important. The final one seems a little counterintuitive, and that is to set yourself time limits. So one of the things that we know from workplace practice is that as soon as there's no due date, our effectiveness goes down. But if there's a due date, so if I have to get something done by a certain amount of time, it keeps my intensity up, keeps me focused, because I know that there's an end date. In fact, I took this to the extreme in the undergraduate situation, and I worked out how many hours of study I was going to do a week, and I broke it up according to percentages, and for me that was an hour per percent. And so if I had an essay worth 30%, I would spend 30 hours on that essay. And so I gave myself time limits that I'm going to do 10 hours worth of research, I'm going to do 10 hours worth of revising, I'm going to do 10 hours worth of 10 hours worth of writing, 10 hours worth of revising. However you break it up, giving yourself a time limit forces you to use that time effectively. Now you might get to the end of that and you go, you know what, I'm going to steal a bit of time from over here, but having a time limit on the work that you do will improve your effectiveness. And this is a principle I still use in the workplace. I always say, okay, I'm going to have this done by X day, because then I'm forced to really be effective. So those 3 things have been really important in improving my effectiveness. Okay, so make sure, just as a recap, short bursts of activities. You are not designed to sit for 8-10 hours at a time. Stand up, do some exercise, for crying out loud. You are not just a brain. Make sure you use your body. Break your tasks up into goals. Okay, think of them as individual tasks so that you can cross them off, so that at the end of the day you should know exactly what you've achieved. And what you've achieved shouldn't just be read or watch, it should be actually doing something active. Limit the time that you spend. Whenever you spend 100 hours on one essay that's only worth 10%, you're stealing it from some other things. So limit the time that you spend. It will improve your effectiveness and it will assure that you're spending the right amount of time right across all of the things that you're working on. I hope this has been helpful and look forward to talking to you some more in the future. Thanks. Bye.